Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Anachna wahai bar HaAhlap. Hey, we the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nachamatam, Kaya, Hamalak Watashamayim, Kwara, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. First and foremost, before we get started, we're going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rocha, Kodashwa, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and rule well. Much respect to you, bros, out there pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom.
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 Just as we've been going into HaAhlap Bayath, which Ha is the, HaAhlap is pretty much going into Alpha, and Bayath goes into the bet part in the alphabet. All right, and that pretty much is how you say alphabet in Hebrew. HaAhlap Bayath, the alphabet. All right, the letters we're covering today is going to be Ahwath, which is pretty much is the word for sign, but a sign is also synonymous with the letter. So Ahwath means letter or sign. All right, we're going to Taza and Kwa. All right, and as we've been going into, each letter is a representation or a mirroring or a reflection of the Lord Yahweh Shai in some way, shape, or fashion. All right, so when we go into Taza, all right, the words that correspond with it is going to be a journey, righteous, which righteous is going into the adjective, so it would be a righteous man, which is Tazadayak. All right, harvest, trail, desire, and chase. All right, when you actually look up how the letter is made, and you was to compare it to your iPhone or your Apple Maps, it looks just like a map, because if you start at where the pretty much that straight line on the left, and you follow it looks like a Z almost, but it looks like a trail, you know. But from that, could we get Romans chapter 4 and verse 3? Because pretty much it exemplifies, a righteous man. All right, and a righteous man is ultimately going to have a starting point, all right, and an ending point, being the kingdom. All right, but how that's done is going to be through faith, because we have to have both faith and works, in this pretty much this trail, this journey,
Mm-hmm. This is the book of Romans, chapter 4 and verse 3. For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed the Most High, and it was counted unto him for righteousness.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, Abraham was counted righteous because he had the faith, but then also he had the works, as we're going to get in James the second chapter. He had the faith, but then he had the works to correspond with that faith, which ultimately it was counted for righteousness, because he ultimately believed.
Mm-hmm. Want me to get that James for you?
Yeah, let's get that.
This is James 2. Want me to start at 14 or where you want me to start
at? 18.
18? Con. So it says
well, yeah, you can start it at 14.
Okay, con. James 2 and 14, it says, what doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?
Well, and what the Lord is doing ultimately, I'm gonna get a quick precept real fast. This is Bon Sirach chapter 6. Hold on. Bon Sirach 6 and verse 7. And it says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So ultimately, as the scriptures say, Bon Sirach, the second chapter, roughly paraphrase, gold is tried in that fire. So ultimately the Lord is ultimately proving us. All right, that's as it's going to say. He was accounted as a friend of the Most High. You see, because he had the faith, but that the intrinsic value is judged off of the faith. Because the faith is ultimately going to push forth for those works, and that shows the true integrity. That this is the proven process, and ultimately, a righteous man is going to be proven. From having faith. With his works. So faith alone isn't going to save a person.
Right.
Con.
Can I get something for you real quick?
Mm-hmm.
This is Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1. As the brother went into the letter to Taza, right? It means journey, righteous. It goes into the trail, desire, and the chase. It says, now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house into a land that I will show thee. right? And I brought that out because he had to go on that journey, man, right? Right, to prove his righteousness, right, to prove his faith, he had to be willing to take that journey, right, into this unknown land, right, into this uh, uh, how you say, um, well, pretty much the unknown, right? He had to, trust in the Lord fully, man, right? He had to separate himself, right, and that's
If I,
the
if I
walk. The
also like your brother, I just wanted to add, if I may add, it'll be like a leap of faith.
right, exactly. He took that leap of faith, So going and just land backing off that point of this character in the alphabet, right? Going into you taking that journey, right, and ultimately going into your righteousness, right, where Abraham started that journey of righteousness, right, by taking that leap of faith, as the brother said.
God.
I got a precept. This
Mm-hmm.
Hebrews 11. What is faith? Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So, as we speak, like Abraham, for instance, like the brother Cornwall said, Abraham had faith when he put his son upon the rock. He had faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Now, if he didn't have faith, he lost his faith. He probably lost his son.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and just like we we went into last week with the elder brother priest Amawan, the faith with the imagination, so because reading this Hebrews 11:1, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, so faith ultimately is that the testament, it's the credence, to push forth those works, because we don't ultimately have to see something to believe that it's true, because the Lord bless us with faith, to ultimately see the things that we need to see in the spirit.
Right.
Right. If I
And
may
just
add, because it says something. It says substance of things hoped for. Something that you hope for is something that is something that you envision in your mind of what an outcome might be, right? So if you're hoping for something, it's not something that we can see physically. It's something that ain't here yet, you know. So again, just adding to that thing, how faith is, the key factor that's required, in this walk, right? And like you mentioned, like the brother Yawan mentioned, that's pretty much the motivating factor that's going to propel you into doing the works, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, being charitable, and also, conforming your ways to the ways of the Lord, you know, which is which is which is just like Abraham did, right? He let go of his past. He let go of everything he was tied up to, being uh pretty much almost like, because I wasn't Abraham like a pagan at first. They worship different idols and stuff, but
that's pretty
then
much the ways he had came up, and his father would
Yeah,
pretty much.
follow now. I got a precept.
also, mhm.
You still talking?
You still going in, Yeshaya? You had more to say?
Oh no, go ahead.
Hebrews 11:6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, man.
Mm-hmm.
See? So we don't have faith. It's possible to plead Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We don't believe that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and everything that he wrote, these scriptures, man. And we can't please Most High. We just like the damn heathens, man. They ain't got no damn faith.
Right. If I can
Mhm.
add to your point, that the latter it says, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And pretty much
Huh.
before we cut on the camera, we was talking about how in order to be able to finish, because the righteous is ultimately going to take that journey, that trail, all right, in faith. But an important part of the faith is it says a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So ultimately keeping our eye single, as pursuant to Matthew the 6th chapter and the 22nd verse. Could we get that? And then also get Proverbs 29:18.
You said Matthew 6.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew 6 and verse 24.
22.
Oh, so like at 22, it says, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light."
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, we have to keep our eye single, and that word for single goes into to healthy, but then also it goes into to be focused, in which those two are synonymous, because ultimately both of those is ultimately it's keeping us healthy, it's keeping our body in a healthier state, and it's keeping us focused on the kingdom, focus on the Lord Yahweh Shai, because He's the trailblazer, and that trail we talking about the trail right now, the word for or the letter Taza, part of that is the trail, and ultimately to finish on that trail, we gotta follow the one that ultimately paved the way, the Lord Yahweh Shai.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said is a reward of them that diligently seek Him, because they got the vision. They keeping their eye single, they keeping their eye focused and in a healthier state.
Mm-hmm.
The elect. Can we
You
also
said
grab Proverbs?
Proverbs 29:18.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he.
Mm-hmm. So those that have the eye salve, the vision, are ultimately going to be in a happier state. You see, because we're keeping our eye on the Lord Yahweh Shai. Because if you took your eye off of a destination for a brief moment, that really could be the end. And that's why the vision is very imperative to. That's why it's paired with the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got a saying. Uh, like in different combative arenas, where you go is where your eyes are gonna go, or wherever you're looking at, that's where you're gonna follow. You know.
Mm-hmm. Con. Pretty much, the scriptures say a similar thing. It says, "Where your heart is, there where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." You
Mm-hmm.
know, so wherever your mind is, the scriptures like we just read, right? If your eye is single, that whole body should be full of light. So if you're focused on the true path, that's going to lead you to a path, of enlightenment, a path of, fulfillment. But if you go down the other path, focus on something else, that's the deviation. That's where your mind ain't single. You ain't focused on, the right path. You focus on the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. We focus
But
on the light, not darkness.
mhm.
That's it.
And that light is Yahweh Shai.
Right.
May I get something for you?
How you good?
Con, this is Jeremiah 6 and verse 16. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." So that's the path, right? Like the brother Yawan mentioned, you gotta keep your eye focused on the trailblazer. Yahweh Shai is the first one to go down this path, so we gotta follow his example. He's the one that made it. He's standing up there on the right hand side of the Lord. And if we want to be, joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, we gotta walk in his path, you know.
Right. And spiritual too, because it says, "Thus saith the Lord: Stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein." And those that's ultimately going to be accounted righteous is going to be those that took that journey, that took that trail.
Mhm.
Those that had their desire in righteousness.
Right.
Could we also get that? You had some quite
I was just going to make a point on what you said.
uh
When it says stand ye in the ways and see, right? Everybody's on a path, right? So you envision it as you standing on a road, right? And you're asking for the correct way, man. While
Mhm.
everybody else will, go the way they think is right. We're looking to see which way we're supposed to be going so that we don't, wander off, man. Right? To destruction.
Mhm. What does the scripture say? A prudent man
You see it.
taketh care to his goings,
Oh, well, yeah. Exactly.
right? So what are we doing? We're inquiring. We're being careful. Of what path we're going into, what path we're following. You know.
I
Um.
got something. I got something before we continue on. It's like
Con.
the verse in Psalms 23, 3 and 4. It reads, "He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." See, as long as we're here in America walking in the valley of the shadow of death, which is Babylon the Great, we walk on the path of righteousness. Yahweh Shai is going to be with us, just like he with us now in the beginning of all hell, ready to fall. to come upon the earth, man.
That's right. Hey, and a good thing with that is that's this path, like it says, um, when you read up, it talks about, how he makes them lie down in green pastures.
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately, a path of peace.
Hmm.
While all hell's breaking loose, because the valley of shadow of death, you can't rest. You can't be in a state of peace walking down the valley of shadow of death. You know what I'm saying? There's death at every corner. So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be in a state of being unease, being unsure, being unsecure. But with this truth, that's what keeps us that stability, right? Isaiah 33:6. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Jabber's got it.
Could we also get Hosea 12 and 10?
Con. This is Hosea 12:10. It says, "I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets."
Right, and that's ultimately how the Lord speaks. We got Psalms 23, going into how the Lord likens us to sheep, and pretty much, sheep, if they was in some type of danger, like that's why I said green pasture in the still waters, because ultimately, sheep confides in the shepherd, and green pastures and still waters is a necessity, for sheep. Just like we're going into this trail, those that are ultimately seeking the Lord will be on a trail, on a journey. That's why scriptures go
Mhm.
into how pretty much we're likened unto pilgrims. So pretty much why I wanted to get this is because the Lord speaks in similitudes. And pretty much what a similitude is, one picture, it's a story being told or a precept or a something, some type of understanding being made with a picture, making a comparison.
Mhm.
God, I got one for you real quick.
Mm.
It's Psalm 85 and verse 13. It reads, "Righteousness shall go before him and set us in the way of his steps." Right? That righteousness, speaking on Yahweh Shai, as the brother made mention of him being that trailblazer, man. Right? He, the author and finisher of our faith, he made the way, right, for us to follow, man.
Hmm.
And then going into our forefathers, they, we're reading up on them, right, to see the way in which they went, man. So going into that word, as the brother made mention of Taza Dayat, it goes into the righteous man, right? So righteousness is, going before us, being Yahweh Shai, right, and showing us the steps that we need to take, showing us the correct way, you know.
Hmm. I got two. Could we get Proverbs 8, Proverbs 4 and 18, and then also Isaiah 1 and 26.
This is Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 18. It says, "But the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day."
Right. So the path of the just, all right, justice also synonymous with righteousness, so the path of the just is at the shining light, so as brothers are focused on the Lord Yahweh Shai, the trailblazer, ultimately the Lord is increasing us in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the longer, the elect stays on that path, ultimately the understanding of, true balance, true equity, and true uprightness is being increased, and reason being because the Lord is essentially raising up the judges. Could we get not Proverbs, Isaiah 126?
Isaiah 1 and 26.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of Isaiah 1 and verse 26. And I will restore thy judges at the first, and thy counselors at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city.
Right. It says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, the powers, the Alahayim, all right, the elect, starting with the Lord Yahweh Shai. It says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. This is what we have to look forward to. It started at the beginning of that trail, all right, and it's going to ultimately lead forth into the kingdom. That's why it says, afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city, because in the kingdom, we'll be made perfect, all right, and ultimately, we're going to rule in righteousness.
God, may I get something for you?
Yeah, you got it.
This is Second Ezra chapter 7 and verse 6. There is also another thing. A city is builded and is set upon a broad field and is full of all good things. So this is a similitude to the kingdom of heaven, right? And the path to it. But it says, verse 7, the entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water. Right. So this is showing a path of being straight. You know, straight just means going into a position of difficulty. You know, a path that's going to be, you know, in the book of Matthew 7, you know, Yahweh Shah says the same parable, you know, and calls it the straight gate. You know, and like it says, it's a position of difficulty. It's a dangerous place. You know, like we mentioned earlier, how a prudent man looketh well to his goings, meaning if you're gonna walk down this path, you're gonna have to, as the scriptures say, you know, examine thyself. You know, whether you be in the truth, meaning you gotta constantly be examining yourself, making sure that you're going down the right path. You know, that's being prudent. That's you taking the cautionary steps to making sure you don't fall off this path. Because like it says, there's fire on the right hand, on the left, deep water. You fall into either one of those, you're going to die. Right? But as it says, continuing on, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, is so small that there could but one man go there at once. Right? So just showing how, first of all, there's rank in this thing, you know, but also the fact that you got to go and follow the footsteps of another man. And like we mentioned again, you know, we say it again, the trailblazer being Yahweh Shah, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you know, when I don't know if brothers watch that Indiana Jones TV show or movies, you know, you gotta watch your step. You gotta watch where the first man goes so you can know where to place your foot at. Right. The same thing.
I got something. Matthew 10:16. So behold, I send you forth in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Like you say, we walking in a dangerous place, man. In the midst of wolves. So we got to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, man. We want to get to the end. We want, you know, of this, man. Because Satan and his damn, you know, battalion, they're out there like wolves, man. They get ready, you know, out there want to chew up the sheep. And that's the children of Israel, man. So we got to be careful. We got to walk that walk and talk that talk, like they say. Be serpents, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, man.
God. Bros, had any more precepts on Taza?
Nah.
God, we can move on to Kwa.
God. Want me to get the chart?
God, Uncle Shah. And it says Kwa. Could you able to zoom in?
Let me see.
Yeah, there we go. So going from right to left, you got Nasa, Aipa, Taza, Kwa. All right, Kwa goes into the sun on the horizon, circle, time, and call. All right, and reason being is because the sun on the horizon. All right, how the sun operates. All right, and how it was created. If you was to take the sun like a dot and you put it on the right side of that little stick at the bottom of Kwa, that'll be the east because the sun rises in the east. All right, and it follows a circuit or follows a circle around to the other side, which is going to be the left, the west. All right, it goes into time. All right, time is measured in the daytime by the sun. That's why they got the terms like high noon. All right, and it goes into Quap. All right, Qua is Qua and Pa. All right, the Qua is the sun on the horizon, but then Pa. All right, so the sun speaks. All right, because ultimately, if you know it's hot outside, all right, if you don't find any shade, you know the sun will be speaking, and you know it causing heat. You know, so can we go to Psalms 113 and verse 3, and then also get Ecclesiastes 1 and 5.
Psalms 113 and verse 3 reads
113 and 3.
Reads, from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised.
Right. So we got on the chart, it said call the sun of the horizon, and then it said time. So it shows that the sun it has a relation to how it is in the daytime, because it says from the rising of the sun unto the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. So ultimately that's continually all day. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
also get Ecclesiastes 1 and 5.
Here's the book of Ecclesiastes 1 and verse 5. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he aroused.
Right. That's a circle. So it says the sun also ariseth. All right, the sun rises in the east, and the sun goeth down. All right, the sun sets in the west. All right, hence why. All right, the shape of the letter quad, and it also with letter Q in English. Now they more so put it off to the side, but really it should be in the middle. All right, reason why that line is in the middle is because the sun rises on the right side of that line in the east. All right, and it's going to set on that left side of that line, which will be representative of the west. It says the sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down and hasteth to his place where he arose. It's a circle, but then also it shows that the sun is set on a circuit, and then it's also in like a race. All right, if you liken it unto like a track. So from that, could we get Matthew? Could you get Genesis 1 and 14?
This is Genesis 1 and 14. And the Most High said, and the Alahayim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
So it says, and the power said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. So you got the sun in the daytime, all right, and the moon pretty much it's in the nighttime, in which the moon ultimately dictates the months, all right, the years, all right, and pretty much the feast, the seasons, as I mentioned in Bonsarat, the 43rd chapter. But the sun rules in the daytime. Pretty much the sun, it'll tell you what time you have in the daytime. That's why you got things like sundials. You got just different mechanisms to pretty much measure the hours of daylight, all right, in the daytime. All right, it says, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So pretty much it's instituted. They pretty much rule, and it goes by the Lord's rule. He has the sun, all right, in the daytime, and then the moon in the nighttime. So just to prove that it goes into the daytime light, could we get Matthew 27 and verse 45?
This is Matthew 27 and 45. And it reads, now for the 6th hour, there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, 46 too.
Yeah, you keep going.
And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. This is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
So pretty much how the could you get this in the NLT, Yeshaya?
Khan. So it says Matthew 27 and 46 in the NOT. It says, at about 3 o'clock, Yahushua called out with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, my power, why have you abandoned me?
So pretty much it gives a time in the daytime, because you measure the hours in the daytime by the sun. Again, that's why they got terms like high noon. That's where the sun is the highest, all right, where it's going to be the hottest. And being that the creation of the sun, all right, ultimately goes into the sun speaks. Quap. That's why quap is synonymous with the letter for qua. The sun speaks, and when the sun is at the highest point, all right, it's going to be very, very hot. So from that, could we get Psalms 19, and we start at verse 1.
This is Psalms 19 and verse 1. It says, the heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork.
Which this is ultimately going into the creation of the internet.
It says, verse 2, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge.
So this word is constantly going out, as pursuant to Isaiah the 62nd chapter. You know, it's constant edification going out.
Mm-hmm. It says, "There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard."
Right. And even, you know, on the internet or YouTube, you know, if you didn't understand a specific language, it can be translated. You know, they even got the transcription, you know, or the I believe it's called a transcription, but it'll give like an outline of, you know, what's being said, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's various different ways and means to ultimately translate this word, you know. The Lord
Mm-hmm.
has made it readily accessible.
Con. Verse 4, their line is gone out throughout the world, throughout the earth, in their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun.
Right. So it says their line is going out through all the earth. All right, that line is talking about that word is on kwawa. All right, that goes into an actual. That word goes into hope, and it also goes into a line. All right, and that will be the Hebrew equivalent of the word for broadband, because pretty much it's broadbands that go from the satellites into the different communication devices that this word can be accessed on. So it says that their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. And them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. Pretty much, you know, and those broadbands is connected to those satellites. That's how the information pretty much goes out. But then also you have the actual, you know, in the heavens, the sun has a tabernacle, you know.
Hey, that's heavy too, because whenever I don't know, brothers used to watch or listen to like radio. Whenever someone would call in, they'll be like, "You're on the line."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you're on their frequency. You're on their broadband, like you said.
Yep.
I got a precept.
Mm-hmm.
This is Romans 10 and 18. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, very. Their sound went into all the earth, and their words into the into the ends of the earth. And like we were speaking of, the internet, radio, satellite. That's how the words are getting out. You know, they shoot that the signal up to these satellites and they broadcast it, or however they lie. They say satellites out in space, but then who knows what these damn devils doing? But anyway, their word is scrambling through these satellites, man, and these antennas, and everybody is hearing and seeing, the men of the Lord through the internet, man, and on
Mm-hmm.
TV and everywhere else. And you cannot, it's went all over through the damn earth. There ain't too many people hadn't heard or seen some Israelite, on video or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is now.
Excuse me. Con, bros, had anything else?
I have real quick. Let me see what I can
Are you
find.
good?
Let me see. Because you made mention of how the sun speaks. Let's see if I can find it. Slovakia. No, it's not coming up. Because pretty much, that's why the scriptures talk about how the Lord's eyes are 10,000 times, brighter than the sun,
Mm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the sun shows all things, man. Right?
right.
When when the sun is out, right, everything can be seen, everything will be known, right? And that's why we're in the time where, right, everything is being made known, because that sun, right, is, allowing us to see it all, man, right? And going into, Yahweh Shai, right, he's given us this wisdom to be able to understand all these things, man,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
But
spirit is spiritual that it said 10,000 times brighter than the sun, because the sun gonna reveal everything, and if the sun or being that scripture said that, ultimately it's showing that the Lord ultimately, like you said, see everything, because like even if it was a shadow on something in the daytime, you still can see what was under that shadow,
right,
but showing that the Lord ultimately he has the angels taking report of everything,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
And just to add to that point too, whenever you look into that, the more light you get in your eyes, the more you can see, the more detail, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same way, with the Most High's eyes, he 10,000 times brighter than the sun. As a matter of fact, I got it right here, right? I'm gonna read it real quick. It says, Sirach 23:19, such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men and considering the most secret parts. Right. So like the brothers may mention, the Most High sees everything. He's taking account of everything. There's nothing that can, like the scriptures say, woe to them that seek deep to hide their counsel. So them thinking that they can hide their counsel, they can do things in secret, but the Most High sees everything, right?
Right. That's
And
why.
I might want to.
Oh, you got it.
And I might want to add when the scripture said 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Have y'all heard of X-rays? You go take an X-ray to see right into you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means you can go to the darkest depths of the ocean, the deepest black darkness of a cave, or wherever, and the Most High still can see you, man.
Mm-hmm. That's why when the big song say,
More powerful than X-ray vision, these radiology, machines will ever be, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when the scriptures talk about things being under the sun, right? The sun covers all corners, man. Right, so nothing can be hid.
Nothing.
Can we go to Psalms 19 and verse 4?
This is Psalms 19 and verse 4. It says, their line is gone out through all the world, through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun.
Okay, keep going.
Verse 5, which is a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race.
Right, so let's talk about the Lord. It's twofold. It's talking about the Lord Yahweh Shai, and then also the actual Son. It says, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. So how is it talking about the Son, the actual Son? Because when we got Ecclesiastes 1 and 5, it said that the sun ariseth and hasteth back to his place where he arose. So it's like the sun is on a race. It's on a circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Will we continue?
Yeah, Baruch.
Verse 6, his going forth is from the end of the earth, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hiding from the heat thereof.
Right. So it says his going forth is from the end of the heaven. All right, because when you look at how Qua is comprised, all right, from the end of heaven on the east, all right, because the sun rises on the far east, you can see it on the horizon. It says his going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, all right, to the west side. It says there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. So just so long as the sun is out, it's pretty much shining light on everything. All right, how that's synonymous with the Lord Yahweh Shai. Ultimately, it's light being shined on the counsels of the ungodly. Could we get Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 9, and also could we get Malachi 4 and 1 to 2, and then also 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7 to verse 8?
You said Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 5?
1 and 9.
1 and 9, con.
But could we get Malachi 4 and 1 to 2 first?
Con. This is Malachi chapter 1 and verse 1.
4 and 1 and 2.
Oh, 4 and 1 and 2. Con.
Malachi 4 verses 1 and 2, excuse me.
Con. This is Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch.
Right, because ultimately those that are wicked and ungodly, they're going to be destroyed, with the ICBM nuclear missiles, that's going to have the Lord's Spirit on them.
Con. Verse 2, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall.
Right, and the point that I wanted to get was that the Lord Yahweh Shai is likened unto the, because it's talking about the Lord Yahweh Shai in verse 2, at times the Lord Yahweh Shai is likened unto the sun,
Mm-hmm.
which the sun also goes into wisdom, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Con.
So from that, could we go to we can get Second Thessalonians 2 and verse 7 and 8, and then get that wisdom of Solomon.
God, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way.
So it says, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And pretty much, the mystery of iniquity, is the Edomite. And pretty much back in the ancient world, he was already working his wickedness. It's just that he wasn't revealed in that time. It says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed. All right, so the wicked is being revealed. All right, it says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, because going back to the letter for Qua, the Son speaks. All right, so it says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So if the Son is speaking, whatever the rays is hitting, pretty much it's consuming whatever object that is, and being that the proverbial object in this sense would be Esau Edom. His lies is being consumed, all right, by this light, from the sun, because the Son is speaking. It says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. Right, that's why he has to do, the different campaigns trying to take this word off the internet, because it's exposing them. It says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, which represents the prophets, all right, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So pretty much the Lord is ultimately destroying, Esau Edom currently, you see, but then on his actual, coming, he's going to destroy, the hegemonies and hierarchies of Esau Edom.
Mm-hmm. You want me to continue reading?
Oh, that was pretty much the point. Could we get Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 9? Mm-hmm.
Con. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, for inquisition shall be made into the counsels of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds.
Mm-hmm. So it says for inquisition, which inquisition goes into an investigation. Pretty much the counsels of the ungodly is being searched out. All the, the different meetings that they felt like they wasn't being watched, or they not being seen. Well, that's being searched into. So it says, for the inquisition shall be made into the counsels of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds. So ultimately the Lord has the angels taking report, and essentially, it's being seen. And then also, the witnesses down here are being the prophets are essentially saying, hey, this is what's going on. This lines up with pretty much what's being spoken about him. It's like, because he's on trial right now. Pretty much he has charges against him. And then also, when you take it to a regular courtroom, they will want like a file or like a report, so or past crimes. That's why the scripture say the Lord required that which is past, because Esau has a whole track record of things that's pretty much things that he has done, and not only that, an actual judge would, or some judges pretty much look at the intent, so being that, Esau got the track record, and the Lord, his eyes is 10,000 times brighter than the sun, he already knows his intent, and his intent is not going to change,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Hey, Yeshai, could you pull up Luke 12 and 2?
Con.
Got this real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 5. It reads, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Right? So, like the brother was going into, everything these devils are doing, right, is being seen and is being recorded, man. So like it says in Luke 12 and 2, it says, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known, right? Because that sun, right, is seeing everything, right? Like the Bible mentioned, the X-ray vision, right, is going through everything, seeing everything, showing everything, right? And it's being made, made known to the masses, man,
Mm-hmm. That's right. May I get something for you? This is John 3 and verse let me see. I'm gonna start at verse 19. It says, "And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil." So not only Esau, but even amongst our people, there's wicked men who won't come into the light. Because as we continue on, it says, for everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. Right? And that's what we're seeing amongst Esau. His deeds are being reproved. So of course he's going to hate that light. He's going to hate that exposure. Right? But the same way Esau is getting exposed, right? We're seeing a lot of the wicked of our people are getting exposed as well. Right? But again, that light is being shined now in these times because the Most High, is dealing with his men, right? And we understand that, all this exposure that's going on first starts with the prophets, and that light is being shown, that scope, that that magnifying glass is being, put upon, all the wicked of our people, but also amongst Esau. But it says, finishing it out, verse 21, but he that doeth trust cometh to the light, that his deeds may be manifest, that they are wrought in the Most High. Right. So that's pretty much the point, though. Right. How that light, of course, is making us shine. Right. Making our deeds, being shown before the world, and then to the wicked of our people, and the wicked period, is a exposure, but what you call bad publicity. But y'all brothers got it.
And I might want to add, that's why these Edomites make these damn movies, man. Dracula. The light kills them, man. They got to stay in darkness because he's wicked as hell. Just like our people. They're like a bunch of damn vampires. You shine the damn light on them, the damn light will kill their ass. They got to run back to the damn darkness, man. Get back in them damn graves. They don't want to wake up. They like darkness. They like wickedness. They like following Satan, man.
Mm-hmm.
And our people, they just, we tell them they just willingly ignorant. No, we can't come to the light. It hurts. Look at the movie, what they call Underworld. That's our people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Put a bunch of damn vampires. Shine some damn light on them, burn their ass up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like somebody had called me.
You did it.
You still going into this?
La. You can go.
Did bros have any other precepts?
La.
Okay. Could we end it off on the chart again? So we went over Taza and Kwa. All right, and again, every letter pretty much is made. The shape of it is for a specific reason. All right, even where they're placed at. All right, we got I and Pa last time. We have to watch. All right, what someone says before we can respond. All right, with Taza and Kwa. All right, that journey. All right, those that stay on that journey are ultimately going to be righteous. All right, they're going to have their desires met. Because they made the Lord their delight. Could we also get that Psalms 37:4? But on that journey, ultimately those that take that journey are going to push forth to the light. All right, because as we got in John the 3rd chapter, those that pretty much going to be a part of the elect, they're going to have their works wrought in the Lord, and those that don't want no part of the trail, essentially, they're going to be destroyed, but they're going to shun away from the light, But this is Psalms 37:4. It says, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart." And which ultimately how we delight ourselves in the Lord is having faith and having the works that ultimately show that we do. We're about what we say we're about, because the Lord has ultimately proven us. And those that stay on that trail, because how we're being proved is through the different obstacles and adversities on that trail, on that journey, on that chase and the desire, all right, for righteousness, as pursuant to Bonsarat, the second chapter, for gold is tried in the fire and acceptable in the furnace of adversity. All right, what we got our mind set on ultimately is going to be shown forth in our works. Can we go back to the chart, Bumper Shot? All right, and it says Qua. All right, Taza, again, it goes to journey, righteous, harvest, trail, desire, and chase. All right, and then Qua goes into Qua, which means Qua is the sun on the horizon, Pa is the mouth, so the sun speaks. All right, also goes in the sun on horizon, circle, time, and call. So I don't want to Zaza Banaya Paulos, what that was a beautiful edification to the spirit. Did bros have any other closing remarks?
La.
Nah.
God, we go ahead, close it out by saying call her light and love. Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Racha Badashwa. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that touch this truth and rule well. Much respect to you, bros, out there pushing this truth with our righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom.
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 Shalom.